Hey guys, so this one is gonna be super impromptu, and when I say impromptu, I don't mean like I haven't prepared for it. I just mean I haven't scripted for it. Um, so I'm going off the cuff. Is that a real word? Is that a phrase? I've got a whole whiteboard of information behind me. I don't know a great way to have you look at it while having me be on frame because of how kind of small the words are. And I don't have any gear. I don't have a tripod. My phone is just propped up on my backpack right now. So I think I'm just gonna talk about it. I'm gonna attach a picture in the description so you can look at it with me. But for the most part, I'll just be glancing behind me um, and looking at it as we go. The the main point of this video is going to be about why I'm starting medication, um, primarily for ADD. I don't have ADHD. I'm not hyperactive. I can sit still. The problem is I'm a little bit too inactive, which is ironic given that these two, I feel like very distinct set of symptoms are grouped under the same parent of ADD slash ADHD. Um, Maybe not ironic, but maybe, well, it is ironic, but maybe it's also just interesting that um, these two are related. Um, but I'll be starting Vyvnase tomorrow. I've got a 20 milligram prescription today. What happened was I had my primary care. Oh shit! Sorry. Oh hey, you can see a little bit, so maybe I will flip the video because right now it's inverted, but whatever. If I'm looking in this direction maybe, wherever my eyes are pointing to right now, that's because I've got my computer here, and it kind of shows what's being displayed on the phone. So yeah, I guess I'm distracted by the computer here, but I'm gonna try and look at you, right? Because that's not very warm. That's not very welcoming of me. So basically, what happened was I went to my primary care doctor today, and my intention wasn't so much to get any type of solution on these neurodivergent symptoms that I'm feeling. Um, I was gonna bring it up, but mainly just to ask him, like, hey, like, are there any resources in the area that I can look at, like a therapist or, I wasn't even thinking about a psychiatrist. I've always been resistant to medication. Even this morning, I was resistant to medication. Even now, I'm resistant to medication. I've got a little bit of a section here on why I'm resistant. So I went to the doctor. I explained to him my set of symptoms, and I'm going to go over everything. But long story short, for the sake of explaining the story now, he kind of just looked at me and said, "Hey, you have two options here if you want to get treatment. One, start medication now. Two, wait a little bit, get testing, and then see what they say." I I've gone down the testing route a little bit in the past. The wait list is a long time. It's last time I was on the wait list, it was about 8 months. It's expensive, $1,000, and for what? Like my symptoms aren't they're not hidden. They're pretty obvious. Like I'm just gonna go to testing for them to tell me like, hey, like you're not typical. Okay, what now? Medication. I mean, it's looking like it all points down that one path. And before I knew it, I was like, well, my spontaneous train of thought there was I've already tried to battle this by myself for a long time. This particular set of symptoms, it haunts me. It provides me so much struggle, anguish, frustration. I've tried my best to deal with that on my own through sheer will and determination. Maybe it's time to consider it's another form of dealing with it. Before I get too deep, that's basically what happened today. He looked at me and said, "Hey, I have the power to prescribe. Let's give you Adderall or Vyvnase, Start with you on the lowest dose." And lo and behold, I got a prescription, and I picked it up from Walgreens this afternoon. It's a bit of a shock, really, because I've been so against it for so long. I really have. I'll go into reasons why a little bit later. But that top, it says why I'm starting, and it should be medication, why I'm starting medication. I'm starting medication because it really feels like my last resort. I've had years of trying to combat this through sheer will and determination. The ways that I've been trying to combat it is, one, forcing myself to be proactive about starting my coursework, my goals. I mean, this is going to be a common theme or a trope, I feel like, in my line of reasoning is a lot of the motivation behind why I have so much frustration and anguish behind how my mind works is that it doesn't feel like it's fit for providing value for society. Society nowadays is very methodical, requires a lot of, if you want to get far, it requires a lot of focus and intellectual activity. It requires a lot of long-term planning as well. It's just society is a very structured place, and you can contrast that with maybe if we lived in like a hunter-gatherer type of like civilization or a tribe or something. Where you're living more day to day. I feel like my mind is more accustomed to that. And my mind really it works great for day-to-day activities, right? Like if the reward is near, if the stakes are high, those are the situations in which I thrive more in. But, here, years of trying to combat being proactive about coursework and my goals. I mean, I struggle with long-term planning and foresight. Beyond that, there is also another set of symptoms. It feels like my brain's default is mush. I talk a lot about how when I'm living in day-to-day life, I don't feel like I'm realizing my potential. I feel like just in normal stakes situations or my equilibrium, my homeostasis, my brain isn't firing as much as I feel like it should. And this is concerning. I mean, I have an analogy here. Imagine you're driving a Ferrari, but you're constantly low on gas. You're forced to always feather the throttle. I mean, that's just a little bit of how I feel like. I don't mean to sound conceited, I put the analogy of a Ferrari here because I do feel like, and I don't wish to make any comparisons to any other people. I don't wish to proclaim that I'm better in any aspect and compared to anyone else. I mean, I think this analogy does do some of that, but I guess just for lack of better words, I feel like I have a lot of potential, right? And it's just when you feel like you have potential and you can't realize it, that just makes it that much more frustrating. It's like you're driving a sports car, but you're not allowed to hammer it. You're handed the valet key. You're not handed the red key, the SRT Hellcat red key, or given the black key, or given the valet key. I mean, it's just because you look at your potential and then you think to yourself, hey, I'm going to make these goals, I'm going to make these ambitions, I feel like I can get here, I feel like I can accomplish these things. But my default homeostasis, it requires a lot of effort. It's not natural. It requires a lot of effort. It requires a lot of struggle to activate my brain, to realize that potential. So I've tried that through sheer will and determination to force my brain to turn on. And I realized that without high stakes, my brain is not keen on turning on. It almost feels like I can't turn it on through sheer will and willpower. I can force my ass to sit down, and I can even force myself to look at a problem. I mean, maybe after I look at it, I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna say it's not an easy task. I'm gonna, like, let's say I sit down and I'm working on anything at all, right? And the cards are not aligned that day. As it usually is, the cards aren't usually aligned for my brain to be active. It's not the case where I can just sit there and have my brain be on, I guess. It's a bit of a weird thing to describe. Now, certain things I'm more passionate about, I enjoy more. Maybe those things, my brain will be a little more active on those. But, if I'm just sitting down doing a particular task, any particular task in general, it's my brain isn't going to be on just because I tell it to. Yeah, I guess maybe, I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, maybe you'll understand more as I go on. So my default state is just mush. My brain feels like mush. At the time of writing this and most times in homeostasis, I have pretty extreme lethargy and tiredness. Like I said, if I don't struggle or force myself, with sheer will and determination, I can push that a little bit. I can maybe force myself to be a little bit better, to feel a little bit, to do things even though I'm lethargic or tired. But my default state, it's my brain is scattered. It just feels scattered. I feel lethargic. I feel tired. I need a quick fix. Like I'm prone to scrolling Instagram. We all are. We all are prone to scrolling Instagram. But I, through these chains of events, I in particular am, and I don't know if I am more or less than the average person, but it's because of this that I am prone to scrolling Instagram for quick fixes, because usually I'm just lethargic, retired. It's hard for me to set my mind down on a task that requires a long focus or a commitment, because for whatever reason I'm not as rewarded by a long-term gratification, a long-term goal. So that's why I resort to cheap fixes. I've tried detoxes. It doesn't quite help. There's been periods of times where I have had enough willpower and determination to be like, hey, I'm not masturbating to fucking porn. I'm not scrolling on Instagram. I'm not scrolling on TikTok. I'm not watching YouTube. Either I fucking do something that is productive. I say productive with loose terms, but in terms of productive, I just mean something that's not a cheap fix, right? Like something that requires a longer term commitment, like even working on like a hobby, like editing a video, filming a video like this, or working on like a passion project. I've never really been passionate about. I've never been super passionate about a project, but I digress there. That's complicated, but it doesn't quite help. I've tried that and I end up spacing out. There's been a period of my life where I've tried detoxing and I just end up lying on the floor for hours. It's just, even in the absence of any quick fixes, my brain default is still just to be idle, right? It's just so fucking lazy, dude. Like maybe in another life I was just a couch potato. Like I'm just so fucking lazy. I'll just sit on the floor for hours staring into space. I'll think about random things, but it'll be hard to move, like to will my body to move, or to will my focus to concentrate on a certain area. So right now, at the time of writing, more detailed, I was feeling scattered. Not a single thing to focus on. It just feels like my neurons in my brain are not aligned, right? Like, let's say we have a bunch of different neurons, like somewhere in this direction, some in this direction, some in this direction. It's like when every single neuron is in a different direction, it just kind of feels like that, like it's just your brain is not aligned in a certain direction, right? It's just like in a whole bunch of different directions. And back to my earlier analogy with sheer willpower and determination, you can try and blow, like blow some wind here. Maybe some will gravitate toward a certain direction, but it's hard. It's hard. And it requires, willpower doesn't come for free, guys. I don't know. For me, it's like, it's hard. And all of this results in a certain loss of control. Like I said before, I feel like I know what I want to do. I feel like like to a certain extent, I do have goals. I do have ambitions. I feel like I know where I want to be. That creates a disconnect. I want to be here. I want to feel these emotions. I want to feel fulfilled from achievements and from growing and from challenging myself. But instead, I'm a fucking lazy piece of shit, and I'm on my fucking couch. I'm scrolling on fucking TikTok or watching porn. So I just feel like a loss of control, because there's that discrepancy between where I want to be and where I am at. And sometimes my brain is so scattered that I feel like I don't quite know where I want to be. And this really is more pertaining in the scope of passion. My entire life, there hasn't really been anything that I have been committedly passionate about. I have friends, I have just all around me. I see people who have long-term hobbies and who are committedly passionate about something. I have some of those, but even then it's hard for me to get focused. The thing about passions is I would love to have something that I'm intellectually passionate about. Something that can take my brain out of this idle state, and where my neurons can all just be aligned in a certain direction towards a certain thing. I don't really have one of those. I like cars, I like working on cars, but that's more of like, it's not so much of an intellectual pursuit, right? I'd be like, hey, it'd be cool to have an off-roader, it'd be cool to have, like this car, or build this car or whatever. But even when I'm working on cars, my neurons aren't aligned. The problem I guess I'm describing here is I don't have anything that will align my neurons, and that's why I feel broken. And so sometimes I feel like I don't know what passions I would have. Like if my brain was capable of aligning, maybe I would have, of all the things, I'm more mathematical. I'm more of a mathematical person. It comes to me. Who the fuck is calling me? I hope this shit is still filming. Okay, good. I'm more of a mathematical person. I'm more, like I enjoy physics. I like all of that. I think that's probably the closest thing to where sometimes my brain can be more aligned when I'm working on mathematical problems, or I'm working on, like physics, because those things, you can have a real clear goal. And so if you have a problem and you have a clear goal, I think it's easier for my mind to be like, hey, like here's a problem. The goal is very clear. The goal is very simple. We just need to get from here to this one answer, but so, that's what I'm wondering. It's like, like if my brain was more capable of aligning, then maybe I could find some passions, because I say I like math, but it's not something I'm passionate about. It's not something I'll like sit down at my table and just do for fun. Because I don't feel like I have that energy in my brain, because of how much it likes to be in an idle state. So a lot of times I hear, hey, you're not passionate about something. Maybe you just need to find something you're passionate about. You know, like, I don't know if that's the chicken or the egg here. You know, like, maybe I'm not passionate about something because my brain is more idle than it should be. But I do have goals. I do know where I want to be in life. The one caveat to this is I love philosophy. I feel like maybe philosophy is one of those areas where I maybe am more passionate about. You know, maybe perhaps that could be the one exception to which I am passionate about philosophy. Even in my current state, I could sit down and write because I'm so motivated. Because of all the struggle and the pain that I've been through, like, I'm really, really motivated to really find out what the hell I'm fucking doing here on this planet. Maybe I'm just really motivated to solve my problem here, I don't know. But moving on, and yeah, you can see that I've got some previous videos on my channel where I kind of do some more philosophical takes. But that's this section. This is all about why I'm starting, my current symptoms. I'm going to do a little bit of a background here, my life up until now. I'm going to go quick. Before that, I've got one more analogy here. Sometimes it feels like I'm guarded, I guess, by a short-sighted general releasing only enough troops to help prevent total defeat. He's got plenty, he or she, they've got plenty of, or he or she or they, right? You know, I'm trying to be inclusive here. Oh, God. I made it weird. They have got plenty of troops here in reserve, right? But we're only releasing enough to help fend off any incoming attacks that are an imminent threat to the palace. We've gotten the palace here. If the general will just release their fucking troops, we could conquer this fucking palace. But the general's like, no, you know, like, I don't know if he doesn't have fucking, or if they don't have fucking glasses on, like, if they got like fucking like nearsighted vision and they can't fucking see what the fuck's out there. I don't know, but it's just, I mean, basically what I'm trying to say here is like when the stakes are fucking high, when my fucking life is at risk, you know, when I'm fucking taking the SAT, or, you know, that was back in high school, but if my job is at risk, if I don't complete this stupid project, I mean, I'm okay. Like that's how I know my potential is there, is in these moments of high stakes. I can fend for myself, but I can only access that potential when shit's about to be smeared on the fucking wall from being flung by a high-speed fan. Like, I wish we didn't have to wait for the shit to hit the fan before we start decorating the room and make it look pretty. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, that's just another analogy. Real quickly, I've lived this life since at least I can remember, and based on stories of how I was as a little child, I think this has been like how I've always been, you know, like a little bit more idle, a little bit more lazy, less interested, and less active, you know, just more just like, I don't know. Can this be described as peace? I'm at peace, but I'm also not at peace, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm at peace, but I know in society we gotta fulfill certain obligations, and peace is not gonna cut it. So I'm not at peace because of that. 6th grade, almost flunked English. I was pulling all-nighters in 6th grade. In 6th grade, we've got, I had this teacher, Mrs. Minix. She hated the shit out of me because I would always plagiarize her stupid fucking essays. every 2 weeks she would make us write creatologies. Every 2 weeks we have this essay due where you have to fucking just write about some random story and turn it in. The thing about me is, I guess I'm a perfectionist. I might be a perfectionist because like the way for me to get motivated is by a reward, right? That is perhaps higher than it needs to be. And so a perfect reward might get me enough to motivate. Like, like, hey, I'll sit my ass down to write a fucking essay if it's gonna be, hung up in a museum and gloated on by all the passerbys. I mean, I'm not gonna fucking waste my time on some bullshit essay that's just gonna fucking score me at 85 points and be forgotten about. But I mean that. I guess I was digressing there a little bit. That's kind of the nature of how I approach assignments. I mean, it's hard for me to get started, and I like to make it perfect. But the thing about the creatologies was like, God, like I just didn't want to fucking do it. It's like, I guess my brain is just idle. And as a sixth grader, I'll be sitting down, I'll be like staring at a blank piece of paper, and I'll be like, God, I don't want to use my brain. It's like, it's too much fucking work. It's too much fucking work. And so I would just go online and I would search up like short stories, like written by other authors, short stories. And I would just copy it over to my Word doc. I would just change up the wording a little bit. I would change up every couple of words so that, you can't fucking copy and paste that shit and find it. I got away with a couple of them. But I mean, she found out because, and this is a rookie mistake, like in the essay, it was like an English essay. And so favorite was spelled with a U. And at the time, like, I was like, damn, bro, like, this is a very quirky way of spelling favorite. Like, this is fun, I'm just going to leave it as it is. It looks fun. I'm going to be quirky, like, I'm going to be different from everyone else. But she fucking saw that shit, and she saw through it. She was like, this fucker is not, like, he's fucking copying this from the British archives. Like, but ever since 6th grade, I had trouble completing my assignments. Creatologies, other assignments in her class, like, I remember just staying up until 3 a.m. as a 6th grader because I didn't want to fucking do this shit. 3 a.m. Like, what 6th grader is pulling all fucking nighters, struggling to get their work in? I mean, granted, Miss Minix, she gave us a lot of fucking work. Like, she had a very gifted program. But still, like, that's atypical. 6th, 7th grade, more all-nighters. Remember, I was completing math packets. I mean, it came to me. It wasn't math was easier than English. Like, at least you have a single answer. But still, like, sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to fucking do this shit. I was in Chinese school. I would forge emails to my mom as the teacher in the Chinese school. I would be like, Mrs. Hua at ChineseTeacher@gmail.com or some shit, and be like, yo, I'm fucking sick. Don't send Robert to school today. I did that for 3 weeks in a row before she caught on. But I mean, those are the lengths I would go to avoid Chinese school because I didn't do the fucking homework. I didn't want to do the fucking homework, and I would always feel shame about that. I guess that's the reason. I like going to school though. I mean, I had a lot of friends there. Countless all-nighters in high school, college, emails begging teachers. I wrote my college apps in one fucking day. I sent UPenn's college app 2 to 3 months later because I didn't fucking want to finish that shit. Dude, college apps was a whole nother debacle. I mean, I gave myself weeks in advance to do it. Every single day, I would sit down my computer. This is it. Winter break, this is it. I'm going to write my college apps. I would play fucking Agario the entire day. That day's gone for 2 fucking weeks straight. It's a fucking problem. And I've been fucking dealing with this shit for years. Room's always a fucking mess. And yeah, we talked about how I space out and lie on the floor. So this is the backstory. I mean, I've gone through a lot. I've tried sheer will. I tried sheer determination. I've somehow got to where I am now with a job, a stable job. I've got more goals that I want to accomplish, and even then, I don't like how much I'm struggling just to be where I'm at, and I just feel like I'm not realizing my potential, and I feel like I'm wasting a lot of time, and I feel like sheer will and determination is not cutting it as much. So that's the backstory. I know you can't see that shit, but over here is gonna be why. What scares me about medication, my current expectations, and I guess where I'm gonna go from here. I've got two main things about why I've resisted medication for so long. One is I'm a person who I derive a lot of fulfillment from hard work. You know, I'm not the type of person who likes cutting corners. You know, like I said before, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I like to do things and be proud of myself and work towards it, and be wholly dependent on myself. You know, I don't know. I like that. I got a notification here, but I don't know. I hope this is being recorded. I'm talking for 30 minutes long. I haven't tested it. I don't know if it's recording my audio. I don't even know if this shit's working. So I might just be talking to myself here. That would be ass, because like I don't think I could reproduce this speech again if I wanted to. This is requiring so much activity from my brain, and the only reason why I'm going on for so long is because it's novel. You know, like I haven't, you know, it's interesting, you know, like going through my story. I haven't really expressed this out loud too much in a structured way, and so if I had to do it again, it's going to be mundane. I'm not going to do it, but basically, yeah, the biggest reason is I want to work for my success. It gives me fulfillment. I like the idea of myself growing, and I just don't like to be dependent on anything. There is the argument people say, right? Like, hey, without your glasses, you can't see shit. You know, like, you got glasses, are you dependent on your glasses? You know, like, that's a fair argument, right? Neuroplasticity is not exactly analogous, I think, to the glasses argument. I think there are principles that could apply. You know, like if it's the case that I just have a chemical imbalance and there's nothing I can do about it, I don't know. I guess I'll try out medication and report back if it really does feel like putting a pair of glasses on. The second one are the unknown effects of medication. Will it permanently alter who I am? Will I grow to... What the fuck does that say? I don't know what the fuck that says. Will it permanently alter who I am? Will I like who I am when I'm on it? Oh, will I grow tolerant to it? Yeah. Those things are all questions for me. My biggest thing is my biggest fear, right? Like I don't mind trying out new things, but with things like this, I don't want it to permanently alter who I am. You know, like I don't know. I have a feeling. I've anecdotal experiences that suggest to me that perhaps it's possible that taking these medications can give you lasting side effects. I don't know. I don't think that's true based on my research. So I guess I'll just be cautious. I'm starting on low dosage. I'm gonna just give it a trial period of a week, see how it goes. If it doesn't have any lasting permanent effects, I'm a little bit more relieved. You know, like even if I turn to a shit person, at least I can realize that while I'm on the medication and stop it, and then have everything go back to the way it is. You know, the other things I can totally live with, I can totally experiment with. You know, maybe I turn to a robot. You know, like, and that's something to consider. You know, like what's more beneficial? Either be Mr. Robot or not function in society. I don't know if you watched Mr. Robot. That's not the right reference. Mr. Robot's got a lot of personality. He's got a lot of personality, I would say. But and so this brings me to my expectations of this whole thing. I'm I'm starting on 20 milligrams of Vyvnase. I'm gonna give it a trial period of a week. You know, like I'm gonna compare it to my mannerisms in this video. You know, I'm a little bit hyped up on caffeine, but I'm not doped up on Vyvnase. I'm not doped up on any amphetamines. So this is close to how I'm naturally like. My expectations are gonna be low, because of how easy it is to be tolerant to these types of things. I know there's somewhat of a honeymoon period, and so I think I've got to be wary not to let that drive my expectations. If I feel really good the first week, I think it'd be dangerous to carry that expectation further in. It's just going to be cause for disappointment. You know, like if in the long run, if it can sustainably help me, just give me a little bit of a boost, you know, like maybe I'll still rely a lot on my own sheer will and determination, but at least they'll give me a fighting chance. That's probably the ideal outcome for me. And hopefully I can just, I don't want to use this for the rest of my life. You know, I think I just want to give it a try and see if it can help me get closer to where I want to be. And once I get to where I want to be, I like to think that I can wean off it, but for now, we can give it a shot, I think. And I'll be on high alert. You know, if I turn into someone I don't like, if my values start becoming compromised, you know, those are non-negotiables for me. So I'll be cautious. These are a little bit. This is a little bit more on how I feel. Now, with my current set of symptoms, I have inhibited creativity, unless I can force it, but idle state, creativity, hard to access. I'm a great test taker, mundane in daily life, we've gone over that. I have a horrible memory. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's bad. I have a bad memory. And I start things passionate, only to lose all the passion about 60% through. And honestly, there's probably more I wanted to cover here, but I kind of got burnt out. I wrote, I'm burnt out now, there's no coming back, and I kind of ended my thought process shortly after that. Final thoughts. Yeah, some part of me does feel weak right now. Like I've given in, that I've given up. You know, like that. I try to get through it through my own willpower, but now I just said fuck it. I give up. Give me medication. Part of me feels that way. I don't know if I truly believe it. I think that's just the stubborn side of me that's always been resistant to these kinds of things. Like I said before, hopefully it can give me a little bit of a boost, but I can still rely mostly on my own determination and will. I don't think that's a sign of weakness. And weakness just in the sense that I don't feel like I lose respect for myself, right? Like weakness in the sense that maybe I could have done more. Maybe I could have tried harder. That in my sense is what I feel to be weakness, is if I haven't tried enough or I haven't tried harder, you know, it's like, then I feel like, hey, like, Robert, like, you know, you could have put more effort here. You could be a little bit better. But hopefully I can still practice my willpower. I can still practice working hard, I guess, to be who I want to be, even with this boost. But we'll see. I don't know what effects it'll have at all, so we'll see. Another final thought is that despite all the negativity I've expressed with my current set of symptoms, they're not all negative. There's a lot of things about who I am that I'm really grateful for and I'm really proud of. I think because of all the struggle that I've gone through, it's made me very non-judgmental of people and of things. I think I recognize that, you know, people going through a hard time, it can be pretty rough sometimes. And so I don't, I feel like I have a lot of compassion and sympathy for people who might not have it all together, The other thing is I feel like I've developed a sense of nihilism, and this I'm oddly really grateful for. I feel like I've lost a lot of attachment to things because I wanted to achieve certain goals so bad and I haven't been able to. I wanted to get into Stanford. That was my biggest goal for a while, and I grew attached to it, but I couldn't do it. I didn't get in. I wanted to attend even other schools that I wanted. I couldn't quite get in. There's so many times when in high school I started this business. I really wanted to succeed. I didn't get it. I applied to scholarships. I mean, like a lot of these, I guess, are academic, but even non-academic, right? Like I wanted to be in shape, or I wanted to be a certain way, have, I guess there's a lot of things that I've in the past have grown attached to, but haven't able to manifest. And so this has taught me and made me realize that life really isn't about achieving these mental conditions that you assign to yourself, or having these attachments that your mind assigns value to. And this is something, I think this is probably the single most valuable realization that I would like to keep, and that I feel like that I have. I really do think it's precious, because I think at the end of the day, without these attachments, you can see things through an unbiased lens. You can look at your own emotions and have your emotions be purer than if they were driven by ulterior pursuits. It's made me appreciate a lot of the more sensible things in life, like love and relationships and social situations, and just having fun and enjoyment from life, without conditions being attached to it. And I think all of this is thanks to how many times I've been shot down by my own arrows. And I do feel like at times I am a little bit more expressive, just because I feel like I want to be a little bit more, I feel like I just want to introduce a little bit more spice to my life, I guess, for lack of better words, because at times it cannot be as spicy, and so I maybe can introduce a little bit of silliness or goofiness, and for that I'm really grateful for. And I feel like just throughout all the struggle, it's given me access to a lot of really deep emotions, profound sadness. While sad, it can be really beautiful at times. But yeah, I mean, there's things that I'm grateful for, and I feel like it's made me a way more resilient person. And so I appreciate that, and I don't want to lose track of that. And I guess just my message out there is struggle is not a bad thing. Like I'm glad that I've allowed myself the opportunity to struggle for so long. And part of me wants to struggle even more, right? But, I think I feel a little bit more comfortable now because I feel like I've hit a dead end. I feel like I've struggled all that I can. I've squirmed, I've pulled at the ropes, I've tugged, I've kicked, I've screamed. And I feel like only after you've done all that, only after I've done all that, hence why this is my last resort. I think I feel a little more comfortable doing this after all of that. It looks like my camera's frozen, so I'm just gonna quickly wrap it up. I'll report back how I feel. I don't know if it's still picking up what I'm saying. I hope it is. Oh fuck, my phone died. Okay, so my phone died, so at the last minute there, I think you're going to see a frozen image of myself, but the audio is still there, thank God. And I think I basically finished all I wanted to say. And also, like, I'm on my MacBook camera now. Like,
why is there a fucking filter for my eyes? Like, it just looks so unnatural. Like, what is wrong with society nowadays that we just can't be ourselves? Like, we have to, like you just see this shit. Like, my eyes are just moving separately from my face. Like, this is just ridiculous. Okay. But my last piece is, yeah, I'm just there's one more final thought here. You can't see it anymore, but basically, I don't know if my symptoms up until now, I don't know to what extent they've impacted my relationships. I think to one extent it's made them way more intense and fulfilling. I have such strong emotion when it comes to love and the people. There's no delicate way to say this, but let's just say, just for lack of specifics, in a relationship, I just feel so much intensity. I feel so much love for the other person. I mean, that's on one hand something that I'm really grateful for. I think that really is what I live for. And I'm curious to see how Vyvnase will impact that. The one caveat here is that I struggle with knowing what I want. I don't know if it has anything to do with how scattered my brain is, if maybe it's unable to process emotion as quickly, or I don't know. I don't even know if I'm processing it in the same way as if I were more typical. And I don't even like using the word typical here. Like, nobody is typical. There is no typical. The only reason why I'm even attempting this whole medication round is just because of the norm set out by society and what it takes to thrive and be successful in society. I think if I were out in the fucking woods by myself or in a tribe, but I mean, what, you can, I can go around in loops. I mean, society can be interpreted as natural. Maybe it is the human equivalent of nature, maybe, like maybe society isn't as unnatural as we think it is. Maybe it's just as natural as the trees in the environment. Maybe it's just an evolutionary byproduct of how the world works. But one thing I do know for sure is that the evolution of society and how rapidly it's changed in the past century or two, it's been crazy. It's been a lot of change. The Industrial Revolution, we've started to prioritize productivity. It's just, we've always prioritized productivity, but now more than ever, productivity, intellectual pursuits. That's a whole separate video. All right. Final closing statement. This video will serve as a journal of who I am before I try this, I guess. I'm going to try it tomorrow. I just want to have closure on this chapter of my life before I start a new chapter of my life. Maybe it's not so dramatic, but at least when I document this. So thanks so much for listening to me ramble. Stay tuned. Peace out.